If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Get Certified Together program is created by Technocofe, your free online knowledge sharing website, based out in London.
To be held responsible if something goes wrong with the data itself. So we have to take in consideration all these aspects. So besides discussing about the 5 life cycle phases, we have to understand other aspects as well when we talk about data security. But before we move into that, let us discuss about the phases itself. So first phase is creation. Creation is nothing but creation of new data. Data can be created by anything you Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Certified Together series. This is episode number 26. I am recording today and I know I am recording it after a gap of 2 weeks. I was planning to release a short episode in last week to let you guys know that I won't be recording a good informative episodes for a couple of weeks because I'm busy in some of the things in my personal life, but I have a good reason for that because I joined a new organization, and of course initially you have to do a lot of things. You have those initial onboarding trainings, you have those introductory sessions with all of the team members, and of course the kind of goals which is being set for you when you join a new organization. What kind of things I was busy in looking everything related to that organization and what are the things which are expected from me, and this the kind of work which I am doing is of course related to cloud and digital transformation again with security. So a lot of things were happening, and I was completely saturated. I was not having even half an hour to find something to share with you guys. So I thought of giving some time and maybe come up with something new in the next week episode, and which is today. So even today I had not prepared many things, but of course I don't want to give a gap of good 2 weeks with the kind of things which we are covering in CCSP. So I thought of at least covering one topic today and kickstarting the domain 2 cloud data security, which will actually help us in keep continuing our journey, because I don't want to have a big gap while I'm studying for something new. So domain 1 we have already covered, and by far we are having a good idea about cloud computing concepts and what are the basic considerations related to security when we talk about cloud computing. Different type of service model, different type of cloud deployment models. In the end of domain 1 we have also got a good understanding of different type of compliance and different type of regulatory frameworks which are there and which any organization is following. They have to follow these days because otherwise you won't get business. It is as simple as that. So we have covered all of them in domain 1. Domain 2, I told you guys that it will be about cloud data security, and I think it is good time that we should start talking about data and what kind of role it plays in term of this new type of deployment, where some workloads are running on cloud, some workload are running on-premise. Some of the information which you are getting from your customers is regulated by that particular country to be kept in the same region or same geographical area itself. A lot of new things are happening, and how we can actually manage that data, how we can ensure that the privacy, the confidentiality of that data is secure, is a big topic these days when we talk about cloud computing and cloud-based deployment models. So that's why cloud data security is a whole domain itself in CCSP as well, because you can understand the criticality of this topic and why it is important for us to understand in deep down what role data plays and what kind of challenges it have when we talk about securing that information, securing that data. All right, so I think it's a good introduction for domain 2, and so I can cover a few topics today. So again, I want to let you guys know that I'm speaking without any transcripts today because I don't really had time to do anything on the podcast for past 2 weeks, and it is my bad, but yeah, somehow you need to manage. Anyways, so let's begin today's topic without wasting any time. And I'll try to cover some information related to cloud data lifecycle phases. We have covered some of the key concepts related to cloud data lifecycle phases in domain 1 itself. If you recall the 5 lifecycle phases, in this particular domain, in this particular subtopic of this domain, we will be getting more information, or we will be understanding in more detail about the data lifecycle phases. Okay, so before moving into today's episode, let us have a quick short break for the advertisements. All right, let's start with today's episode now. So, like I told you, data plays an important role in considering cloud security. When you're planning about cloud, you're securing your applications, you have to make sure that the data which is stored on that application is secure as well. And problem is not about only about keeping your data safe. Problem is that data these days can be coming from X number of sources. Like for example, we all are working from home, and we are updating our information. We are doing some project work. Everyone working from their home, and we all are sending information from our personal laptop to our organization's database. And that's a one basic example. Same goes for banking. We all access our banking information. We all do day-to-day transactions, sometimes with our mobile phones, sometimes with our iPads, sometimes with our laptops. And it's another one good example how many sources are there these days which are sending new information, new data onto the cloud. And that's why from the cloud service provider perspective as well as the cloud users perspective, it's a big headache how and when and why to plan cloud data security, why it is important, and why you should know about it. And when we talk about cloud data lifecycle or different phases of cloud, we have already covered the 5 different lifecycle phases. But we also need to understand that beside those 5 phases, we have to think and we have to understand it clearly that from which location or from which devices data is coming. If required, who can access that data, who can have admin rights to do any changes in the data, who can have read-only rights to read that data only, and of course, different type of stakeholders and different type of controllers who will be managing and who will be held responsible if something goes wrong with the data itself. So we have to take in consideration all these aspects. So beside discussing about the 5 life cycle phases, we have to understand other aspects as well when we talk about cloud data security. But before we move into that, let us discuss about the phases itself. So first phase is creation. Creation is nothing but creation of new data. Data can be created by anything. You are doing some transaction, you are creating one data entry into your banking statement. If you are uploading your pictures on Instagram, you are creating a data entry. If you are working for an organization, then any kind of day-to-day work you are doing is creating a data for that organization. So there can be n number of ways in which a data can be created. And of course, it can be created from another n number of sources. So that's another key thing when we talk about creation of data itself. Once data is created, we need to think about storing that data, how and where this data will be stored, who can who can actually transfer that data to a storage point, what kind of solutions we'll be using to store that information, to store that data, who will be having access to it, who whether this data will be encrypted or whether what kind of algorithms it will be using to encrypt, and of course who can access this data, what some kind of logging and monitoring system should be in place as well whenever we talk about cloud storage. And just another thing, and cloud storage itself, which type of solution we are using, Are we using the cloud-based storage by AWS, object storage? Are we using Azure blob storage? There are a lot of solutions in the market, and we have to think about everything when we talk about data storage. Beside data storage, we have to think about another phase of the life cycle, which is usage of data. Because data is stored in one place doesn't mean that it's of no use. It's just lying there for to be kept as it is forever and ever. It's not like that. Data is being created, someone is storing it, but after storage, someone will be using it as well. Like for example, if you are doing day-to-day banking transactions and that banking transaction is creating a data entry on your behalf in the company's in your banking infrastructure system, someone will be processing that data as well. You will be getting a banking statements regularly. If your bank want to verify the number of transactions for all their consumers, they will be again doing some analytics on that data. Same goes for if you are storing some information, if you are storing any files or any photographs or musics on OneDrive or on Gmail or Google Drive, then you will be using that data as well, right? You will be opening that file now and then. You will be modifying few informations now and then. So that's basically using your data. That's basically how and when someone is using the data. Who are the people who have access to your information, and they can do whatever they want to do on that data itself. And data in use is actually most vulnerable because when we are using some information, when we are using any data stored, then ultimately we are accessing that information, we are accessing that data. So beside access control, we have to make sure that if I'm downloading some stuff from internet, if I'm downloading some stuff from my OneDrive, essentially I'm moving that information from OneDrive cloud managed by Microsoft to my local laptop, to my local system, and data is in transit. So data in transit means it is going all over the internet, and I have to make sure that that data is encrypted even when it is moving, right? So that's one of the key consideration as well. So data in use is very important, and we have to understand that data in use is a key component of cloud data lifecycle. Now, beside usage, I don't recall that we have discussed about sharing before in our domain one discussion, but sharing is another key concept when we talk about cloud data lifecycle. So sharing essentially means that you are sharing the information, you are sharing the data with maybe third-party vendors, maybe another organization which want to take care of your data, or if you are a company who have created one database or who have created accumulated one data, and you don't have your own team to do the analytics on it, you don't have your own team to manage that information, then you will be sending it over to a contractor or a vendor to do it on your behalf. So it's like you're sharing your information, you're sharing your data to another vendor. So that scenario is bit different than normal usage. In this case, you are actually giving rights to the information or giving access to the data to another person or another entity, another organization. So data sharing is another key concept of cloud data lifecycle. Once data is being used, processed, shared, everything is being done on that, we need to think about keeping that data for some time as well, right? After all, means you will not always be deleting when your data is no more required. You might have to store it for some duration of time in case it is again required by compliance authorities, in case it is again required by government rule. Like for example, CDRs or the call data records our telecom companies are creating on behalf of us whenever we call someone in. Those CDRs cannot be deleted right away whenever we switch off the phone or whenever we disconnect the call. It doesn't mean our CDRs are gone. Because of government regulations in different countries, it may vary from country to country, but there are regulations that you need to keep those CDRs for some duration of time, maybe for 1 year, maybe for 2 years, maybe for 6 months, because of government regulations. And the company who is generating that data, who is using that data, have to make sure that they are archiving it as well in a safe place, in a proper place, and of course behind the walls and secured. So archiving is again very important. And last but not least, destroying of data. So data destruction, we have covered this topic a lot of time. How we can make sure that data is erased when it's no more in use, how we can make sure that no one can retrieve the information when we remove it, when we delete it from our system, no one will be able to access it again. So data destruction is also a critical concept in cloud data lifecycle phases. It is of course the last phase because once destroyed, you are actually moving into the cycle again. You will be creating the new set of data. So destruction is the last phase, but you need to make sure that the data destroyed is unretrievable and no one can access it again. So beside cloud data lifecycle phases, location or the source of data is very important. Why it is important? More in cloud system or cloud-based deployment models, because cloud is geographically located and you can access your data from anywhere. That's one of the key characteristic, if you recall from our domain one, that one of the key characteristic of cloud computing is broad network access. You can access the information from anywhere. So location of the data is very important. You should know as a data owner or as a data controller, you should know when and from where the data is coming to your system, and whether someone is generating it or sending it from inside your organization or inside the enterprise, or someone is sending it from outside the enterprise, and which different systems were actually used while that data is generated and sent to your system. So for example, if someone is creating a data locally in a different geographical location and then it is sending it over to your organization, then it might be using different storage devices or different storage solutions in between. It's not like everyone have access to your storage drives directly. So your data can be transferred across to a multiple hubs, and those different hubs or those different cloud storage solution or even on-prem storage solution, you should be aware of where that data is located, who created it at the first place is very important when you want to discuss about cloud data security. When we discuss about the location of the data, it also helps us in determining who are the different actors or who are the different stakeholders involved in generation of that data or managing that data as well. So that's why it is important to understand the requirement, why this data was generated, who can manage that data, who can control that data. So if I want to tie it together, then generation of data and location of data, including the stakeholders of the data who can manage and who can control the data information, is important to understand. And it also helps us in deciding what kind of solution we should be using to make sure that data is always secure. So for example, we might be using, there are a lot of DLP or data loss prevention system which are in place, and you can even buy those system, you can even buy those third party solutions as well. Everything you can only determine only when you know the source of your data, only when you know the people or the organizations which are responsible for keeping your data secure. Another key concept related to data is data classification. So it is very important that you as an organization or you as a cloud security architect or a cloud architect as well, you should be able to classify different level of information. Not everything is important, not everything is vital for your organization. You need to make sure that you're only securing that piece of information which is most confidential, which you cannot lose at any cost. So data classification is also very important. Now we know that beside data lifecycle phases, three more concepts are quite important when we talk about data, which is location of your information, who are the stakeholders who can manage that information or who can change or modify that information, and what kind of data it is actually, what is the classification of that data, what kind of tagging it have, to make sure that you can plan your solution, you can plan your data security policies according to all these considerations. And that's why it's important to understand the cloud data concept related to data lifecycle and different concepts related to how and when and what kind of information is stored, who is generating the information, from where it is generated, and who can actually process the information. So it is very important to understand data lifecycle phases, stakeholders of the data, and location of the data. Well, I know this is a short episode today, and I was actually, to be honest, I wanted to cover a lot of things, but I am not getting a lot of time. But yeah, I wanted to share with you another information. It is not related to data security, but one of the key concepts which I was working these days, and I encountered it and I thought of sharing with you guys, which is AWS Control Tower. So AWS Control Tower is a completely new solution, not completely new. I think it's 2 year old now, 1.5 or 2, but not used that much. It is a very good solution if you have if in your organization you want to create a central control from which you can manage your all SSO accounts from the identity center, and you can use this AWS Control Tower to ensure that you can provide a self-service portal to the end users in your internal organization. So this is something which I am working upon. I was not aware of it while I was working upon. I came to know about it and I thought, okay, maybe I can share it with you as well. So if you are working in any organization where you have AWS, then And if you are not using this, then for sure you can go and check out this capability, AWS Control Tower. Also, I am learning these days about cloud formation because I always used to use Terraform for any kind of infra as a code. And now I slowly realize that some of the AWS relevant things or some of the AWS relevant configurations cannot be really done that efficiently with Terraform, because maybe modules are not there, or maybe you won't find proper references, or you cannot give the parameters call from the Terraform module. I don't know if you can give, but so far I haven't seen it. So I'm trying to learn CloudFormation these days as well. So these are the two things which I'm working upon besides CCSP. And if you guys have anything related to that, and if you guys want to know what kind of things I'm doing these days, then I just wanted to let you know that besides CCSP, I'm learning CloudFormation and AWS Control Tower. So you guys can check out about that as well, about these two solutions. Of course, if something new comes up while I'm learning about that myself, then I'll share with you guys as well. All right, that's all for this week's episode. I'll be coming with some more information next time. But I'll try to get more information next time. I'll try to cover at least two subtopics in the next week episode. So next week episode, I'll be covering design and implementing cloud data storage architecture, different type of storage types, and of course threats to those storage types. And I'll try to cover design and apply data security technologies and strategies. So it will be discussing about DLPs, encryption, KMS, hashing, a lot of things, a lot of new stuff, and all these terminologies you're gonna hear day to day when you're talking about cloud security. These are the key things which are happening these days. So I'll try to cover a lot of information as we're moving on. And like I told you before, now is the time when we will be covering the actual technical concepts related to cloud security. So make sure you guys don't miss the episodes, and I will also make sure that I don't miss the recording of the new episodes. So it's a two-way process, and of course, we can work together. All right, have a good day and enjoy. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you for listening to Get Certified Together. If you loved our content, then please like and subscribe from your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss the notification for our next episodes and announcements.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.